What is this needed for? AR.
I read
God
till one
damn.
time and I had him out of control in like 2 minutes. They were crawling all over me and I had no control. I went and gave her a hug and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. No, those kids, I'm telling you, they're like five. I told one of them, he wouldn't quit talking. I said, I can't stop you, brother, help me. So he comes up to help me and all 12 of them.
It's not for the weak.
Got a lot of help now.
Oh, yeah.
My group was pretty good over there.
Well, this is the first time I've ever had these things.
Stays 557 forever.
You guys winning. Good deal. Oh,
What are they gonna do?
I think.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I
I was thinking that's his name.
You get involved in that as well. I mean, we always get done. Yeah. Yeah, well, we were going all over.
how are you, sir?
Trying to pay for a dollar way.
This is
What we would do is for just the first reading, and then what would happen is get out on the website and
The meeting is now called to order. Please stand as Tommy Anderson gives the invocation, and please remain standing for the flag salute.
Please join me as we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless this procedure, bless this meeting, Lord Jesus, and help us to keep in mind the lives of the students and for the best benefit of them, and also for our staff, faculty, Lord, that you would bless them and say, come to the end of another school year, Lord, and we pray that we would be able to accomplish that without any problems. And Lord, we pray that you'd be with each of our teachers this summer and staff, and be with them and keep them safe. We ask all this in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please face the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you. You may be seated. Item 2.
Item 2, public participation in board meetings. We have not received any requests this evening.
Thank you. Item 3.
Item 3, recognition of staff members.
Believe we have 3 tonight. We have certified elementary and secondary, and then a support. Dr. Dice.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Mendenhall, members of our community. So we are always excited to acknowledge our staff, and tonight is no different. We'd like to have Ms. Carla Talley come. So Ms. Talley's colleagues have said, Carla is an amazing special ed teacher at Creek who has worked in the district since 2020. She co-teaches, sits on numerous school committees, and is committed to serving her students and families. Her colleagues continue to say that she's always going above and beyond, and she serves her students with grace and patience. Ms. T, would you like to add?
So I met Carla in spring of 2020 on Zoom, and both of our sped teachers had retired at Creek, and so God bless her, she took the job with her co-teacher was a veteran teacher, but a brand new sped teacher in the middle of a pandemic, and I thought, this woman's not gonna come back, but she did, and then she came back again, and she's been such an asset to us, and the whole sped department. The kids love her, the teachers love her, and we're just so glad that she comes back every day. And Mrs. Sagely wanted me to say some words, and these are from Mrs. Sagely. I thought about taking credit, but Carla Talley has been a sped teacher at Creek in MPS for 3 years, but has been in sped her whole career. Her tireless advocacy for her special education students, her commitment to individualized instruction, and her compassionate approach to teaching has truly helped shape the culture of our school and helped form a fantastic special education program. Thank you for creating and nurturing an inclusive environment for all sped students in our school. You make a difference every day. Thanks for all you do. We are so proud of you and we love you. Love Mrs. Sagely.
Next, we'd like to acknowledge Mr. Andrew Odell. Mr. Odell, these guys could not be here, but I'm going to read these kind words from your colleagues. Mr. Odell is an awesome teacher at Rucker Innovation Academy. His colleagues have shared that he is a true Rucker who has made it his mission to make a difference in the lives of every student he comes in contact with. They also added, his goal is to get students excited about learning, and if you have walked into his class, he does just that on a daily basis. Thank you.
And I'll say something also. My first day this year, I actually went into Mr. Odell's classroom, and I just had an opportunity to speak to a couple of students that you had and have had all year, and they are actually really talking positive things about what you do and what you do every day, saying things like, he knows what he's talking about, he's prepared every day. I hope I get to keep him, like they were kind of telling me that, please don't let him go, those kinds of things. So I think that's a pretty big tribute to you that students would seek me out to say that. So congratulations, and we're glad for you. Why don't we put somebody in with him? Yeah, Dr. Dice, why don't you stand there with him? There you go. That'll work.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And of course, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board, we cannot leave out our support personnel. Very proud to be able to present them tonight. Unfortunately, at the last moment, we discovered that Ashley was not able to make it, although Ashley has transitioned into her role as a paraprofessional and her doing exceedingly well. You want to come on up, please? I'm sure you'll have some words as well. She's been with our district since 2019, although this is the second time she's worked for us. She's actually been here about 8 years before. She's truly making a difference with the young students, and while working with the children, she aims to build those relationships, the ones that contribute to their confidence immensely. They love and respect them, some Miss Alcorn. What would you think?
Yes, actually, Miss Alcorn and I go way back to the AR days. She actually started, we worked together back when I taught AR. And then she also worked at our Roper Kids Quest, and then she came back to us mid-year, and she's done a phenomenal job as a paraprofessional, and I can't stress how much we need paraprofessionals in our building. She works with one of our wheelchair students who's in kindergarten, and she also works with our K-1 inclusion students, and she just does an amazing job. She's very sad that she can't be here. She's under the weather, so we're sorry that she's not here, but she was excited to get this award, so.
We will accept on her behalf. That's a nice picture.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have one of our own here at the Education Service Center. Let me celebrate Miss Kendall Martin. Come on up, Kendall. Kendall joined our referee team only 3 years ago, and as our grant specialist secretary, she has been an absolute delight. She has an outstanding work ethic, definitely true, and is always punctual. Kendall shows her professionalism every day by making sure that she is completing each task that she has, also by helping out our school sites in a timely manner. We do appreciate you, and I'm sure, David, would you mind coming up to that? She's on your team, so I'm sure.
Yeah, Miss Pillar's had a previous engagement, and I told her I would fill in for as long as she wrote me some real kind words to say that. No, actually, before I read this, Kendall was one of the first person that I sat in on hiring, and I'm super proud of her. But Kendall's been a huge asset to federal programs for the past 2 years. She's been instrumental in the success of the after-school grants at 6 of our sites for the past 2 years. She works diligently to ensure all sites have what they need for successful after-school programs. Kendall is driven and determined to keep all programs on budget and claims processed. Kendall is also responsible for our career tech, school improvement program, special education claims, and orders for all federal programs. She is always willing to learn and do whatever it takes to make our team successful. Kendall has successfully completed all this while still maintaining a positive attitude and a smile that greets us every morning. Thank you, Kendall, for all of that.
All right. I'm telling you, I'm taking, I got a lot to say about Kendall. One of the things, I'm on the first one, I can take a picture.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Congratulations.
Go sit down.
Kendall's shaking. I want to tell you guys, you know, it's that, she's the kind of employee that every day when I come in here, she meets me and has a smile and she says, "Good morning, how are you doing today?" I mean, every single day. I leave and come back and she's got a smile on her face. And I will tell you this, she's in a fishbowl. So everybody sees her and she is, she stays busy. She's always on task. So I just can't say enough about her. And, you know, we were going to put her at the high school, but she kept being mistaken as a student. So, but no, she's just a really hard worker. And I will tell you, because we get so much federal funding, she's a workhorse. She's one of those that has got to be on the money and on the dot with the federal programs, and she shares some of that responsibility with others. But I will tell you, she does a great job, and really glad we have her. She's good. So thank you, Kendall.
Thank you. Item 4.
Item 4, Superintendent's Report.
Tonight I've got two reports. I'm going to start out with Ms. Cole. If you would come up, I know you have, we had Teacher Appreciation Week last week, I believe. 8th through the 12th, I think, is the official date of Teacher Appreciation Week. So I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So first of all, there is no other tired like fourth quarter, 5 days to go, teacher tired. And yeah, I'm sure I could get a what in this room if there was a place for it. But I wanted to talk to you about educators. And so one of the things that has really been at the forefront of what we've been doing the past couple of months is our negotiated agreement. And so in looking at that negotiated agreement, that is a document that has been in place since May 7th, 1973. We have a document that has been in place a lot longer than, well, Kendall's been alive and other people
That's
in
pretty
this
good.
room
I like
have
that.
probably,
Yeah,
yes.
that's good.
Myself included, I'm just kind of putting the context there. But the document has been in place for quite a while, which shows that the time that we spend is so important. And so there are several of you on the board that have been instrumental in keeping this document together. You play a part in the history. And even today, you play a part in the history that is the agreement between the teachers. And so the video behind you is, or slides behind you are just gonna play. They're just of teacher appreciation. They're just of those teachers that have shown dedication to our district. There are people that are important to me because they help to kind of mentor me and help bring me along. And so you can just go ahead and just let it play. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you was that our negotiated agreement team, we received an award this year. And the award was based on our loyalty program. And that was not able to come about without your support. And so it takes all of us working together to get things done. And so some of the things or the people that I want to point out in these videos, among those that are retiring are Corrine Beaver and Sonia Cadlick and Robert Pittman. And we also honor teachers that have a number of years with the district. 3 of those educators having more than 35 years with Muskogee Public Schools. Stephen Wiles, Jackie Bennett, and Terry Clark. The longevity of Muskogee Public Schools and the teachers and educators, the people that are in place here help to keep us moving forward. And so, I really want you, just to know from my heart that relationships are key. And so as we build those relationships, whether they start at the school level, go on to the site level, go on to the district level, those relationships are vital. We have to have them in place. I wanted to share something with you tonight because it's very near and dear to my heart. It's book buddies. And so there was a particular teacher, Ms. Johnson, over at the Ruffer Alternative Academy, as well as Lisa Charbonneau, if they would come up and just kind of give you just a brief description of what they did. But I mean, it's all about relationship. It's all about community. It's all about that collaboration. So come on up, ladies. I'll let you have my space for a moment.
Hi there, I'm Vicki Johnson. I'm the English teacher at Raw. My boss, Lisa Charbonneau. And I want to talk first because my heart is with this project. Earlier this year, Ms. Charbonneau came and said, I want you to go to the elementary and read. And so we went and met with the young scholars, and my students fell in love, And so every month, I would have to say, I can't take everyone, sign up, let's look at who's been doing the right thing, and we would go. Well, I went in one day, I had this great idea on the way to work, always have great ideas on the way to work, and I was like, you know, we ought to write a book. There it is. I went into my first hour English class and I said, you know, you love those kids at Cherokee, and you want to do something for them? Write them a book. Look at the artwork. Those students had a blank sheet of paper, and they had a round table. We had engaged, empowered learners collaborating with another school in a project. All those great jargon educational terms we use to develop this book. So I'm finished with my part.
Well, one thing that we wanted to portray and give our students is the ability to see beyond their everyday going to class 7 periods a day life. And for our students, our alternative students, they have many, many talents that we are trying to tap into for them to use in their life. How do we use these skills and apply them? This is project-based learning at its best right here. They worked on this. They, and as we found out, they did it from cover to cover. They edited, they did all these things. We learned through it of some things that we will try to guide and direct them to do next time. But they got so excited because they saw the vision and they saw the advantage of making relationships with others in their community, with other students in their community, with other teachers in their school community, and it gave them the desire to show up and to foster those relationships and to be there for those kids. They absolutely adored it. And we appreciate, you know, not everybody wants to give alternative education a chance. Not everybody wants to come over and visit us. Not everybody sees some of the visions that we see. But people have allowed us in, they've given us a chance, they gave our kids a chance, and our kids shined. And going to Cherokee, those teachers just embraced our kids, and they spoke into their vision and into their just the light that surrounded them and their desire to give back to their community. And that's what we try to do through these relationships. So thank you, Dr. McIntosh, for inviting our students in. Thank you to others. I know Ms. Malia has asked us. Our kids went over to ECC as well a few times. They went over and helped with the Harvest Festival. And our kids just performed every time. But it would not happen without everybody making those relationships and educators that see beyond what the facade, the outer layer of our kids are. Our educators do this every day, and I couldn't be prouder of all of these schools for allowing us to do that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting us share.
And those 3 books right there, you can hand those off. One of those is for Dr. Mendenhall, Dr. Dice, and Dr. Crawley. So and if you would like a copy, feel free to let me know. I will get you a copy. And all of that artwork is done by the artists at our schools, and they are phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you.
And this is just one of the great things that are going on in our classrooms. You know, like I said, we're tired. We're getting to the end and we're tired, but we're still putting in the time. We're still putting in the time in all the different ways that we need to put in the time. And so to that, I would say thank you for the time that you put in to help us to have those sustainable schools, those lessons that we can build in our classrooms and in our community. And so with that, happy Teacher Appreciation Day or week. That's it. Thank you.
You know, Ms. Cole, one of the things that I would tell you too is kind of a a neat thing I'm going to talk to them about is the legislature has just agreed to possibly funding. So it is $678 million. In that, we have different amounts for different things, but I'm going to focus on the teachers specifically. Teachers 0 to 4, $3,000. Get a $3,000 raise. Teachers from 5 years to 9 years will receive a $4,000 raise. Teachers from 10 to 15 years will receive a $5,000 raise. And teachers 15 years and above will receive a $6,000 raise. I will tell you that this is my 32nd year. I know some others probably have gone longer than that. 3 of you I know are educators, retired educators. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, that kind of raise in 1 year. So that's a pretty big deal. And so I think that they have heard us loud and clear that we need to do a lot more to help our teachers. So that's a bit of good news.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yes, it is.
but thank you for sharing today, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Last time we got together, at our last board meeting, I think I tabled, because it was really embargoed at the time, our test scores. So what I'm going to do is ask 2 of our instructional folks to come up. So Lisa, if you and Ginger, I don't know if both of you are going to come up, but they're going to present to you kind of the grades that we received from the State Department and kind of go through those. I think there's somewhat of a silver lining, probably not where we want to be, but it's definitely improving and getting better. So want to talk a little bit about that tonight. So, Ms. Yahola.
Good evening, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board, and members of the community. I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time with your first slide, which is Cherokee, just to kind of explain to you what I have on the slide. It will start with the top orange line where that has a 22.46. That's the percentage points that Cherokee received for their report card this year. If you see that falls within the limits of the D, on your handouts you can see the A, B, C, D, F a little bit better. It's kind of hard to see them on the slides. Underneath that you have the indicators that led to that percentage points. So the academic achievement, if you look at the second column over, it's worth 35 points. The first column tells you how many each school district received out of 35 points. Academic growth is worth 30 points. ELPA stands for English Learner Proficiency Assessment Progress. That's how many English learners we are testing out of the program. The SS beside that stands for a small sample size at that particular school. So there will be some schools where you don't see that SS. That's worth 10 points. And then chronic absenteeism is worth 10 points. If you look at the third column that says score, that's the number of percentage points that they received for that category. And then there's a letter grade. So the fifth row overall was their score is a 22.46 and their overall letter grade is a D. If you look at the bottom little chart there, that shows the last 3 report card progression. So we didn't have report cards in 2020 or 2021 due to the pandemic. We didn't do state testing in 2020. And we didn't get to finish that year, so we didn't have report cards that year, and then in 2021 we didn't have assessment data to go off of from 2020. So in 2018, 2019, and 2022, Cherokee has received a D. Well, no, in 2019 they had an F, so they're coming back up. So they kind of dropped down, now they're raising back up. They are 15.09 percentage points from exceed. One of the things that I'll draw your attention to right now is the chronic absenteeism, which is, they received 0 points, and we'll talk about that at the end of the report. So if you'll look at the second, go ahead and switch. This is Creek Elementary. Creek had 53.89 percentage points, so that gave them an overall letter grade of a C. If you look at their progression, they too dropped down in 2019, but they're trending on the way back up. They are only 3.36 percentage points from having a B. Their chronic absenteeism was 2.68, so there are some things that they're doing. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Irving has a D. They had 35.8 percentage points. Notice that at Irving, there's no SS beside the ELPA progress. They have a high English learner percentage there, so they're receiving points for testing out students there. In 2018 and 19, we kind of trended up and then we've fallen back down. I think that we can account some of that for just the change in redistricting and new students coming in and getting used to a new school site and new and different rules. I mean, the rules are basically the same, but different admin and different ways of running things. They are only 1.75 percentage points from a C. Next slide, please. Pershing Elementary. Pershing received 30.88 percentage points, which was a D. If you notice, their grade was trending up and it's dropped down. Again, I think that that's just kind of changing the school setting a little bit, and we can probably count on that trending back upward once the school kind of gets settled with the admin and student body that's there. They're only 6.67 percentage points away from a C. Next slide, please. Sadler Arts Academy, they're trending at a 99%, 99-point-something% always. So this year they are 0.73 percentage points from a 100%. Doing well there. Their ELPA score, so you see they have a small sample size, but they got all 10 out of 10 points, so they're testing kids out of that program. And their chronic absenteeism, they got 9.38 of the 10 points. Next slide, please. Tony Getz has 46.53. We talked about this one too. Tony Getz was one of the largest schools that was impacted by the redistricting, moving from one school site to 2 different school sites and then back into the main building again, and having a new population of students there. So I think that next year we'll see that that's trending back up again now that we've kind of settled into the building and gotten used to all of the different students that are there. They're 10.72 points away from a B, which is not anything to complain about. They've stayed fairly consistent C, B, and then a C, so they're doing well. Next slide, please. 6th and 7th grade, 24.74 percentage points. They're a D. We don't have data for them for 2018 or 2019 because the 6th and 7th grade academy wasn't a thing in those years. We didn't have that academy. So this is their first report card for that building. So I think that we can count on them trending upward also as they get used to being in that grouping together. They're 16.18 percentage points from a C. Next slide, please. On the 8th and 9th grade academy, I put in the 7th and 8th grade report card on 2018-2019, even though that was a different school setting. It was 2 different grade levels because I didn't want to leave that data out. The 7th and 8th grade was on the F list in 2018 and 2019. and we've changed that grade level to be 8th and 9th. And they have come up to a C, which I think is great. Yes, ma'am?
You put that on the 8th and 9th grade? You put the 7th grade data on there?
7th and 8th grade, yeah, it was the 7th and 8th grade academy in 2018 and 19, or it was Alice Robertson Junior High, which was 7th and 8th.
Couldn't you have put it on the 6th and 7th too?
Yes, but I
mean,
put it,
to get the data, you were getting the data, I mean, you know, to be accurate. You
yeah.
were getting the data for 8th and 9th. That was just a question. I was just
Yeah,
asking.
I chose to put it on this one just to not have it doubly reported, but it could have gone on either one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that came up to a 41.22, so they're 17.2 points from a B, but that grade level, or that school came up 2 grade levels from a F to a C. Next slide, please. At Muskogee High School, we had a 39.13%. So that is trending upward from 2018, which is great. They're only 7.4 percentage points from a C. They have a little bit different, they have still 85 max points, but their indicators are different and they're worth different amounts of points. So they have graduation rate that goes into their report card and post-secondary opportunities that goes into theirs. Next slide, please. This is the state report card for Oklahoma, for the overall state. So they didn't actually indicate an overall grade for the state. They put in academic achievement, academic growth, ELPA progress, all of those as individual grades. So that score, 48.53, on the high school sliding scale would have been a C. So I think that's about where that would be an overall for the state would have had a C in that area. That's just for you to compare kind of where each of our schools are in comparison with the state.
Mm-hmm.
But this is all, for the state, it's K-12. And you don't see ECC on there. ECC doesn't get a report card. And our alternative school and our Rougher Innovations numbers go in with the high school, or those innovations kids that are elementary or middle school go to their home side. Their numbers go in with that. Next slide, please. The last slide are some recommendations that we have for next year for improving our school scores. The first one is a multi-pronged approach to chronic absenteeism. If you noticed in all of those, there were only 3 schools that received points for chronic absenteeism. So we would really like to start a district marketing campaign. Something, we'll have to use our communications guy to help us with that, but something about being in school. I kind of thought like maybe something with the rougher dog says it's cool to be in school, or something where we're incorporating our mascot. Community partnerships where we would put that marketing information in businesses and restaurants around town, so everywhere that the kids are going in, maybe Walmart, urgent care, they're seeing that campaign of, you need to be in school. Why aren't you in school? We would like to hire a truancy officer to oversee all the truancies and make sure that those students that are just chronically absent, not showing up, are getting home visits, and their parents are getting citations if it's appropriate. They're getting that contact with that person. And we would like to strengthen partnerships with our local government, with the city. We would love to see the city partner with us in our campaign, where the city is also pushing out our campaign of how it's important to be in school every day. And then the second recommendation would be a focus on literacy across the district. We would like to continue the elementary literacy blocks, which we have right now, where there's a focus on literacy in 90 minutes of literacy, uninterrupted literacy in the morning. We would like to have all of our K-5 teachers trained in the science of reading. for professional development so that every teacher, K-5, is a reading teacher and not just those lower level, grade level teachers. We would like to do a double block for ELA classes in the secondary school, so they're getting grammar and comp in 1 hour, but then they're working on reading and literacy skills in another hour. And then we have put forth the remediation efforts already that we would just like to continue. We have reading recovery that helps with first graders, the lowest first graders. And we have K-3 reading interventionists that are already in place. So just continuing those remediation efforts. Anybody have questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple of things just to mention on this. If you think about chronic absenteeism, it's about being in school. I mean, students have got to be in school. You get really less than one absence. Well, if you're absent more than 10 times in a semester, there are guidelines that you shouldn't pass the core. It shouldn't pass. So that's 20 days of absences a year. We have numerous students that are gone more than that. And when you have that many, gone, you're going to have a problem with chronic absenteeism. And so we need to have students in school. And we've got to communicate that with parents. Don't send them sick. We know that. But really, they need to be in school every day. And I think that's the thing that has been a real difficult thing. The second thing is the literacy piece. We've talked a lot about our 7-period day at the secondary level, and that gives us a chance to do 4 core classes and 3 electives. But with our literacy in reading, there's been conversation about taking 2 courses. So you do, like she said, a comp class and a literacy class. So you're doing really 2 language arts classes instead of 3 electives. You're really doing 4 cores, and one of those is English, double block English. Not a lot of people like that, simply because that's, they want more elective and more of a broad perspective. But when we have children that are not reading on grade level, if you don't read on grade level in the 3rd grade, there's lots of research that talks about that you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle in school, and you're going to struggle pretty much the rest of your life catching up. So we're going to really focus on the literacy, and then also try to do some things to make sure our kids are attending school. So thank you for your attention tonight. I know that was a lot of information, but I wanted you guys to share with you the scores and kind of what we're looking at. So that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. Item 5.
Item 5, reports, comments for members of the Board of Education.
Okay. Item 6.
Item 6, standing resolutions. Be resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20 upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve standing resolutions A through J as listed.
If we could, let's go ahead and talk about all of our items as we do, David, and then we'll pause on item J, because I'd like to have more conversation with the board on item J. So we'll go ahead and talk about your items first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Start with the finance report first, and get the slide pulled up, please. Well, I'll,
Just keep going. I think that's what they're trying to do, is pull it up right now.
let's see. I think we're having some technical difficulties, but
Go
let
ahead.
me, I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all got copies in front of you. Total general fund revenue on the second page of your little booklet. I'm just gonna go over the previous month, because in the previous board meetings, I went over the prior ones. On general fund, as you can see, last year's revenue was considerably more than this year's. And that was due to receiving the second ad valorem payment earlier. And also last year, we got finally settled with St. Francis, and we got about extra, close to $1 million in the general fund for that settlement. And that's a reason for the large difference between this year and last year in general fund revenue. Next slide, general fund expenses. This year and last year, within $250,000, so I consider that's pretty negligible. Let's go to the next slide. Total building fund revenue. It's a little bit different too because of ad valorem, and we also received an ESSER reimbursement in this fiscal year. Next slide, please. Total building fund expenses, close to $1 million more this year than last year. That's due to the ESSER money we've got for the HVAC projects going across the district, and that was close to $900,000. Next slide, child nutrition revenue. It's real close between this year and last year, about a $30,000 difference. And general fund, child nutrition expenses between this year and last year, with about $50,000 difference. So anything that's not real significant, I consider that within the norm. Is there any questions over the financial report showing, comparing this year and last year? Okay. If not, let me start with the standing resolutions. A's, the minutes of the previous board meeting, April 18. Schedule of payments, accounts payable checks, e-payables, activity fund checks, and direct deposits. Each of those amounts are listed there for the month of April. Schedule of encumbrances, POs 3143 through 3528. Those are also shown in your board book, and the highlighted ones are the ones that are over $15,000. E-financial report. These financial statements are in your board book for the month of April. Activity fund account for Pershing per exhibit. I'd like to skip G and come back to Mr. Crawley. He's going to kind of go over that with you for me on that. H, POs over 15,000. There's quite a few of them. I'm not going to go over them, every one. If you have a question on one of them, please feel free to ask me. And once again, most of these are purchase orders for FY24, the large amounts trying to get ready for next school year with contracts and various items. Next section, I, contracts. A lot of these contracts are coincide with the purchase orders. I'm having them put on at the same time, and these are all pretty much ones that we do every year. A lot of them are for software products. And J, board policy revision, first reading on public participation. I think Mr. Crawley was going to address that with you.
Yes, let's go ahead and, Mr. Crawley, if you'll, let's go over, the bids that you just received.
Okay.
Let's do those first, and then we'll talk about the,
So on Thursday, May 4th, we opened two different sets of bids, one set at 2 p.m. and one set at 3:30. So if you guys will turn to the page on the flooring bids, those are the ones we opened on 2 p.m. Just a little bit about that process when we do public bidding.
it's these right here. Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
Guys,
Okay. So just a little bit about that process. We have to post them in a public newspaper. We have to give bidders 20 days to respond before we open bids. Ms. Barton has a list of vendors that the district's had over the years. We send the bid to all those vendors, as well as use Manhattan and Flintco, our two partners in the bonding, to help us reach out. We only had two bidders, which is less than we would like, but the two bidders are the bidders that have done all the bond work, won the bids, all the bidding process of the bonds, and that's Carroll's and Redbud. So I was really pleased that they participated. We've had good success in our buildings with both of them. So what we did is we put out, carpet is in the classroom areas and a couple office areas. Resilient, if you can think of the flooring that you see along hallways in Alice Robertson or in the common areas and the hallways at New Ruffer Village. So that's what the resilient flooring is, and that's for hallways. And then alternate one complete was the cafeteria, and alternate two complete is the pod areas. So we looked at that doing VCT, which is really common in schools. You see that quite a bit, you know, the little 12 by 12 tiles. Typically, that's actually a less expensive. That's why we did the alternate. But with petroleum prices, for whatever reason, it's almost a wash. So that's really good. So anyways, what my recommendation is to accept Redbud Commercial. And typically in Oklahoma, it's low best bid, and the threshold is very high compared low to best. But the difference in these two bids are important for us in terms of the functionality of the school. There's about a 5%, or excuse me, so 1% difference, about $4,875 difference between the two bids. And I'm still recommending going with Redbud. And the reason for that is their lead times on the carpet make it where we can make sure this is done before school starts. With an 8-week lead time from Carroll's, that puts us, if everything goes well, getting carpet in that third week in July. Gosh, that's a chance I really don't think we can take over a $4,800 difference. So I'm recommending that we go with the bid from Redbud Commercial Flooring again, which is 1% higher. So that would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation, we'll turn to the next page. If you see, I think I gave you guys my copies of all this, but I know this pretty well. We were looking at three different things in this bid. We were looking at the flooring, replacing the floor at 6th and 7th grade center with either one, a competition wood floor, or two, you see one of the alternates for a synthetic floor. And then demolition of the bleachers, those have to be taken out to put in a new floor. And then finally looked at bleachers on the west side, and then the other alternate is also bleachers on the east side. And my recommendation to you is we go with the competition wood floor. There's not enough of a difference between those two prices really to, and there's another price that's not in there of about $27,000. If we went with a synthetic floor, we'd have to demo the floor that is there right now. For a competition wood floor, that actually serves as another layer, another vapor barrier, moisture barrier, so it's a good thing to have that. So the difference between those two says the competition wood floor, although slightly higher, is the recommendation, and then the bleachers on the west side. I spent a lot of time talking with Ms. Dawkins and her team at 6th and 7th grade center. She understands and has said from the beginning this is something they really want as part of the bond dollars. We're improving that space that they use all the time. We're also doing some improvements in the fine arts area, so that'll really help with that end of the building and just their ability to deal with large groups of students. She understands. I talked to her, I believe, Monday morning. It's going to be close on the wood floor, getting that completely installed, ready to go, varnished, painted by the time students come back. She understands that, and that
You know, we do know that fortunately, in August, the weather's a little better, it's hot, but PE classes at least have more opportunity to get outside then. The bleachers themselves will not be in until the middle of October. Again, I've had all those conversations with Ms. Dawkins, and she feels like, hey, let's go, let's do it, and I agree. I think it'll be a great upgrade to that facility, just for volleyball, basketball. I mean, it's just going to be a much better facility for the kids. So make that recommendation. And again, I would have to look at. I have the written recommendation there. I'd have to do that.
So on your board agenda, I apologize. You have the red bud for Irving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 430,435. 430,435.
Yes, sir.
And then for the 6th, 7th grade, you have the floor for 162.9
For Tri-State. Mm-hmm.
for Tri-State, and you have 81,606 for the bleachers.
Yes.
Okay.
Not making any recommendation on the demolition. We'll take care of that.
Has everybody got that? I just want to make sure everybody, okay.
Sorry.
All right, the next item is the J. This was something that after last meeting, we kind of got together and discussed, Mr. Crawley and I, or Dr. Crawley and I apologize, a little bit about just our overall policy on approaching the board, even on agenda items. So one of the things that we did was we began to research some other policies in other school districts. And we do have a policy that's been in place since, well, I think it was adopted August 20th of 2019. And it was there longer than that, but the most recent update was then. But it was really public participation in board meetings and specifically on public comments on agenda items. You'll see in your book, the very last page in the book that I shared with you earlier kind of talks about, in red, stating that participants must provide documentation. You guys do not? Do you guys have it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Participants must provide documentation that they have attempted to address the agenda item with the appropriate Muskogee Public School employees before being permitted to address the board. Also understand that you know, let me tell you the second piece of that. And then there are 3 items, and it says the individual must provide the following information, and we added a bullet point at the bottom that said documentation of efforts to address the agenda item with appropriate MPS employees. Now, what I would tell you is this: you would never, as a board member, want to cut off public communication, because the public, I mean, you serve for the public, so you never want to ever block them to be able to come and speak to you. However, I think on agenda items, it is appropriate for someone to ask questions of an employee. Now, if they don't get the answer that they want, they can still come to a public meeting and sign up to speak. I think our point was that the gentleman that came and spoke last time had never spoken to us about any of his grievances or his thoughts on what he received, and he only had 2 minutes to really speak. So what you get into is you get some of the information and maybe not all the information, whereas if we would have sat down and talked, and if he indeed did not feel comfortable that we had given him the right answer or the answer that he was looking for, he can still come and speak to the board. We put this into language for you. What I would tell you is this is a first reading, so this doesn't become official. What happens now is we would put it on the website for people to comment on if anybody has comments about it, and then we would bring it back as a second reading. So tonight, all you're doing is looking at the information, ask me questions or Dr. Crawley questions. We're open to that, but I want to make sure you understand the reasoning behind our method to our madness, if you will, because if you're truly wanting to find information out, we're here to help. We're here to help someone understand the information. Now, we're gonna have differences. Some people may say, well, I still don't agree with you. I wanna talk to the board. They have the right to do that. So I'll stop or pause there and try to entertain questions about anything, but mostly the policy.
Okay, and I was just thinking that perhaps someone would be thinking that they need to come to an education center person to even, before they even get a chance to voice their opinion. It's like, I didn't want people to think we're trying to screen what they would like to say,
Sure.
you know?
I see that. I see your
That they
point.
would feel comfortable just coming and, because we have the no surprise rule covered by stating that the only thing they can discuss is the item on the agenda. So if it's on the agenda, we're ready for them. That's just one person's opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I respect that. I'd just like to say why I thought that we needed a revision. In
Okay.
sitting here, actually this month will be my 48th board meeting that I've been here 4 years. And I just noticed a small weakness in when the gentleman came and spoke. And what I thought was, make 3 general statements. First, this is a business meeting held in public. The most important thing is that we can have business. So if someone else on the same thing had an agenda item that we weren't prepared for, even though it's an agenda item, they could disrupt the meeting possibly by comments. Okay, so that's the first general statement. Second thing is, we don't ever want to prevent someone from speaking. However, there are a lot of other channels that I don't ever think this should be the first time. You guys, every single one of your emails is public on our website. If they have a concern, I think we have to protect the district's reputation as well. And I'm concerned that a person who comes here for the very first time to voice a concern may not have our best interest at play. And the reason I would say that is, we post these agendas. We don't ever add new business. And so they have plenty of opportunity, and I really feel like I could have helped the gentleman. In 2 minutes, I could have helped him be more effective if, instead of not talking to me or talking to David or Dr. Mendenhall, could have made a more effective presentation. I want to do that. I think that's our job. And so I feel like there is, I just noticed that's a slight hole that I don't think we should ever hear about a problem for the first time at the board meeting. I get it if an agenda item was posted late, for example. Sometimes we do make changes within the 24 hours. The person didn't have a chance to see something that we added. I get that. But it's not always the best place for give and take, and I think that gentleman deserves some give and take. And we know, it says right in our policy right now, the board will not respond. Yeah, you don't want to get into that. And so, anyways, that was my concern. That's the reason I added the one sentence, and I think all of us would want that opportunity in whatever we do, a chance to work with someone to solve a solution if they're truly interested. That's the reason I added that.
And just to add to that just a little bit, just as educators, we would always want to hear from that parent first or that child first before they went above us or another step. And that's all and I agree with where you're coming from, is that give me an opportunity to address it. And that's all you're asking, and move from there. And again, it's more of a bullet point than it is,
Right.
this is what you have to do. And if that's clear, there's clarity in that, I see where you're coming from.
Well, and again, our point was never to keep people from getting to you, because I do think that the ultimate responsibility as a board member is to listen to the community. But I also, it's kind of like we get calls all the time in my office, and, I listen very intently, but I always try to really revert them back to the site principal or the site administrator first before I get involved. And so it's the same kind of situation here. I think, even, we gave him 2 minutes, but he barely got his papers undone before, I think we could kind of get the feel of what he was trying to tell us, but you're right. Dr. Carly could have sat down with him in 15, 30-minute conversation and really probably helped him even do a better presentation, or answered his questions that he had, so.
Yeah, or
anyway.
maybe he had something to tell me that would have helped me be more effective in what I do.
Sure.
I'm open to that as well. Again, I just thought, boy, there's that chance there for someone, even though it's an agenda item, to disrupt the meeting, and that's the most important thing is that we do want to be welcoming to the public, absolutely. But we've got lots of avenues for that, but we don't want to ever get into a situation where we can't have the meeting because it gets.
Yeah.
I really think that the addition to this, to our policy is really good. I'm reading it right now, and this is something that's needed. Just like Bobby said, we all get calls about things, and we go through our procedure. You know, I contact the superintendent and tell him what I've heard, and then and of course, before I even do that, I ask the person, well, have you talked to the teacher? Have you talked to the principal? Have you talked to an administration person at the administration building? Right. And then, of course, Dr. Mendenhall's been real good about getting back to being a timely fashion with what he has found out. So this may help that, this addition here. May help that.
I hope so. That's all I was trying to avoid future, and that was easy. I mean, it wasn't, I just saw something that could happen with other issues and be a little more inflammatory than that one was.
And again, tonight is all about, it's a first reading. We'll put it out on the website. I'll actually get more feedback from you all. It may even change from this point forward too. But we'll bring it back in June for a second reading, and possible would be placed into policy at that point. But we would follow the same policy until the second reading would happen, so.
And you're saying we're open to community input now
Right.
on this as well?
That's correct. And we'll make sure, Mr. Irby, I'll have him make sure we put it on the website so people can, respond to it. And then you guys will get those responses. I mean, we'll actually give those to you all.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
We ready? Done with item 6?
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and second that we approve item 6A through J. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Item 7.
Item 7, proposed executive session, and executive session is proposed for discussion of A, personnel recommendations A through O. I think that's in that, really. C, presented for the resignation, termination, or employment staff members with vote to be taken after return to open session pursuant to Oklahoma Statute 25 OS and 307B1.
I move we go into executive session. Second.
It's been moved and second that we go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now in executive session.
Right. Thank you, guys. somebody off the agenda.
Thank you, Justin.
I don't think so. I think you, all of it except this person.
And I'll make that. Seven
52. Thank you. Item 8.
Return to open session.
Item 9.
Executive session is compliant with the outcome.
All members of the Board of Education present at this meeting attended the executive session. Dr. Jared Mendenhall was asked to participate in the executive session. While in executive session, the board discussed only the following items. A, personal recommendations A through M, names listed below, being presented for the resignation, termination, or employment of staff members with vote to be taken after return to open session. As authorized by Oklahoma Statute Title 25, Section 307B1, no other matters were discussed, no votes were taken. Board returned to open session 7:52.
Okay. Item 10.
Item 10, personnel, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee's Board District 5 County on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve personnel resolutions A through N as stated.
I'd like to recommend that we approve items A through M as stated with the removal of Luke Leatherman under H.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 11.
New business, there is none.
Item 12.
Adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we adjourn. We are now adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.